Howdy. Starting off looking kind of relaxed today, but I'm not necessarily relaxed. I've got kind of a rant, which is funny because I began January, the second video I did in the month of January when I did 30 videos in a row with a rant. And this is kind of a rant, but it's not necessarily a rant. Let's see where this goes. So last night on Twitter, a young guy that I'm connected with asked me if I would read an article that he wrote talking about this anime, which I really don't understand. I gotta admit, I haven't seen almost any anime. But he wrote a story talking about, well, a story that's in anime, where there's these people who get into this virtual reality gaming, and after there's 10,000 of them in there, then the game basically takes over their lives and says, look, you don't get to come out of this. This is not like any other virtual reality that there is. The only way you get out of here is you have to win the game. And so he wrote this whole story about this and wanted me to read it to see what I thought about it, as far as, I guess, how it was written. And so I decided to go ahead and read it, even though I knew I didn't know anything about the topic. And it was written pretty well. But I did have a problem with one specific paragraph, which I mentioned to him. And you're going to see me reading some things here and there because I have to do it. This is just what this is about. So one of the things he wrote was, except for this person's name, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I should. The three most powerful people in the virtual world turn out to be women. And much to my personal delight, this fact is not shoved down our throats as it would be in current American films that cater to the philosophy that women are inherently superior to men. And I said to him, you know, I don't necessarily mind everything else that you wrote, but I got a problem with that because I disagree with that kind of thing. I tend to believe that finally women are getting their just due in a lot of movies. And I was talking about the superhero movies, and he kind of was too. So I said that to him. And then he said this. He said, I struggle with that because mainstream media has been pushing a third wave feminist SJW thing. So I really wanted to point out that the women in SAO are real three-dimensional characters and not a political statement. I gotta tell you the truth. I had no idea what either of these things meant that he said. So I had to go look them up. So the first thing I had to look up was the third wave feminists. I had to go look that up. And I went and looked it up, and I saw that it was something that basically started during the time of Clarence Thomas. Okay, a lot of young people have no idea who he is. He's a Supreme Court justice, and he was basically given the spot by a group of all-white males, no minorities, no women, when Anita Hill, who was a law professor at a university, said that he had sexually harassed her. And it got to be ugly. It was almost embarrassing. Matter of fact, it was definitely embarrassing being a black male and being a black male director who only had women who reported to him, and none of them were black, by the way, at the time. And it was embarrassing to have to see this, but they totally dismissed everything she said. And now he's a Supreme Court justice. I hate to say this, I don't like him, but still, this was just one of those kind of things where, wow. And it started this movement. And here's their main issues. Just to think about this, what are their issues? They don't like violence against women. They want reproductive rights. They want to reclaim derogatory terms about women. They want some sexual liberation. And I'm thinking, okay, you have a problem with women who don't want violence against themselves. You have a problem with women who want to take care of their own reproductive rights instead of basically having white males in politics telling them what they cannot do with their own bodies when they're not going to support these children if they have the children. Really. Sexual liberation so that women can basically do what they want to with their lives. A lot of these same people are saying, you know, we should be able to have marijuana and do all these other kind of things, but you don't want women to be able to have control of their own lives. This is the thing that you're griping about. So there was that. Then there was this SJW thing. And it turns out that means social justice warriors. So it turns out that this is just a term that a lot of males use against women who say that they want certain rights. What are those rights? Feminism? Civil rights? multiculturalism. They just want to be validated. They don't want things like Harvey Weinstein. They want stuff like Me Too. They want to have equality. They want to be taken seriously. They would like to have movies that they get to write and that they get to direct and they get to be in. They want to be seen as more than just a second-rate character in a movie or a TV show. Wow, this is what you're griping against. This stuff here. So let's take it back to movies. You know, when I did my rant back in January, I talked about it from a perspective that basically said that fanboys are ruining everything. They really are. They ruined the Captain Marvel movie. They ruined the last Star Wars movie. Y'all are just ruining everything. And you know what? Those movies still made over $1 billion. You didn't win. And what I said at that time is, look, you want to gripe about something? Go make your own movie. Go get the money, write something, and do it. Which most of you aren't going to do. And you know who else mostly can't do it? Women, black people, Hispanic people, Asian people. Not in this country. It just can't get done. There's not a lot of black directors. I got to tell you the truth. I don't know if there's a Hispanic director. I know there's a couple of Chinese directors. I don't know about overall Asians in America. In China, yeah. In Korea, yep. In India, yes. Here, I don't know. Are there a bunch of women? I don't think so. But you know what? Wonder Woman, $1 billion movie, was directed by a woman. I'm just saying that it can be done. It's not magical. Ryan Coogler did Black Panther. You know, there's enough room for everybody. But something else my young friend said, which is very interesting. He said, what did he say? I always thought black people should create their own stuff. Now I think they have been all along. They just aren't getting any funding or support. Yeah, and the same goes for women, and the same goes for everybody else who is not white male. And that sounds like I'm totally against white males, and I'm not. I'm not close to that. What I'm saying is just look at the numbers. For instance, until Black Panther, all the other movies, the superhero movies, the Marvel movies, the DC movies, whatever, were by white directors. And I don't have necessarily a problem with that. But there are other movies that starred black people that were made by white directors. It just was. I mean, at least we got John Singletary, Singleton. Goodness, Singletary. He was a football player. At least we got John Singleton. We got Spike Lee. We had Ryan Coogler. We have Jordan Peele. I can't remember if his movie was actually nominated for Academy Award because, truthfully, I don't pay super attention to it. But he had a very successful movie. And if it wasn't nominated, even though I didn't see it, it made tons of money. It was very popular. It should have at least gotten a nomination. There needs to be more diversity and there needs to be more care looked at things like this. The Mulan movie, for example, one of the things that my friend mentioned is that he was upset because a character from the cartoon was being taken out of it, and he said it's because of the Me Too movement people. Well, I went and looked it up because I didn't see Mulan. I don't have any plans on seeing the live action. But I went to look it up, and it turns out that it was the people who made the movie who decided that they were going to invest some time to research Chinese history on this particular thing, and they changed a lot of things. But one of the people who did something said, we did recognize, however, that in the Me Too movement, it seemed disingenuous to have her falling in love with someone who was teaching her how to become this warrior. And so they changed that character and actually split that character into two characters. Well, that's the Disney people. That was no movement by anybody on the Me Too side who said, y'all should change that up. Get rid of that. Don't do it. It's the people at Disney who finally got a conscience who decided, you know what, we are going to do the right thing and we're going to change this up because the first movie, The screenplay was not written by a minority. The rest of it wasn't written by any minority. It wasn't directed by any minority. It was their version of the truth or the story. That's just how that goes. You know, I have no problem in general with the people who make the movies, the people who pay to have the movies made. You know what? Y'all do what you do. But I don't want to hear griping from everybody else because you don't get everything. You just don't get to have everything for yourself. That's just not how life works. You want it all, but you can't have it all. And the thing about affirmative action. Why did affirmative action come out? A lot of people who were not minorities said, oh, well, they're just trying to get people who aren't qualified for the positions work because this is just a social program. You know what? No, that's not why it happened. Why it happened is because there were a ton of minorities. There were a ton of women who were qualified for positions and they couldn't get those positions because it was the good old boys network. And the good old boys were not minority. They certainly weren't women. And they didn't want to give anybody an opportunity. They wanted to keep it all on their own. And not that that's changed much in today's world. Heck, there have been a whole bunch of studies, a whole bunch of tests that have shown that people are mainly looking to hire someone they can identify with. If you send in your name and your name is LaQuisha or your name is Kwame, you're probably not going to get called in for an interview regardless of your background. There was a thing on TV some years ago, maybe 15 years ago, where there was a very famous actor at the time whose name I can't remember right now. I've got his face in my mind, I can't think of it. And they did a thing where he went out and he was on a TV show. He was a top guy and he went out trying to get a cab. And for 2 hours, every cab passed him by. None would stop. Then they brought out some, white guys and white women and the cabs passed him by to get to them. It is not a fair world. It needs to be more fair. It needs to be more fair in the United States. That's just what I have to say. My name is Mitch Mitchell. Let me know your thoughts. If you got a gripe with this, go ahead and give me your gripe. You're not going to win. I'm not going to let you win, but we can have a discussion. Be clean, because I got my filters set up. If you dislike it, go ahead and dislike it. I don't care. Y'all take care. And then, by the way, if you do like it, like the video and subscribe. I don't do stuff like this all that often, but I do a lot of videos. Y'all take care.